Hey, thanks for showing up. This is just really great, really awesome. The way we do this is we have a table card, we got some verses, and we are looking at Psalm 23. Yes, it is probably the most familiar of all. It's just 6 verses, probably some of the most familiar words in all the Bible. I was in Costco, and their checkout system intrigues me, right? So you check out, you get your receipt. Then you go to the door, and everybody's got carts all full of stuff, and they got 2 people standing there. You hand the receipt, and they look at your cart, and they go. Then they look at your receipt, and they go, two, carry the 3. Okay, line through. Here you go. It's like they're not really counting anything. It's just some kind of a. Well, they never touch your cart, except this time I had these paper towels standing up, and for some reason the guy didn't like that. So he takes my paper towels, and he's maneuvering my cart so he can get him to lay down, right? And so he gets it all done. I looked at him, I said, "You made it lie down." And he said, "In green pastures." It's like, so I looked at him, I said, so why does God make us lie down? He goes, "Because we're not going to do it on our own." And then we couldn't talk anymore because the next car's bumping me in the back and we got to keep moving, right? But it just kind of underscored for me, these are familiar words. And our goal in this series is that we go beyond just the familiarity of the words and really get to know the shepherd. David was a worshiper and he was a warrior. He was a defender of sheep when he was a shepherd. We're told multiple times he killed lions, he killed bears to defend his sheep. He also was a defender of God's name. He showed up to deliver some sandwiches, and David and Philistines, their hero Goliath, was taunting the Israelites and belittling the name of the God of Israel. And he said, "Who is this pagan? Why aren't you guys taking him down?" And he just took a stone and right. And so then he became a fugitive. And he lived the life of a fugitive. He lived the life of a king. He's probably, if you would list the big names of all time on our planet, David would probably certainly be in the top 10, right, of guys of all time. And somebody once said that what we think about when we think about God is the most important thing about us. Well, David takes a pen and he's thinking about God, and here's what's on his mind. The Lord is my shepherd. Yahweh, the great I am, is my shepherd. And because of that, I lack nothing. That's what we looked at last week. And now we're at verse 2. He makes me lie down in green pastures. What does that mean, make me? What is that? What's the green pastures? What exactly is he talking about, right? Well, on the mind of a shepherd is the growth of sheep. His job is to make sure that sheep grow. And because that's a priority, rest is a priority. Sheep have to rest in order to grow. The problem is sheep resist resting. Sheep will stiffen up not to lay down. They don't want to lay down. We have a dog, right? Little Zeke. Named him after Ezekiel. But, we got him as a young puppy, and I wanted him to be my little buddy that travels with me, right? So he's probably 6 months old. I took him to go in the car, and his legs just stiffened up, right? And I move him to get in the car, and he spreads them out, and so I can't get him through the door, right? And I'm like, "See, what is going on?" And so I realized he was unsettled. He had fear. Why? Because the first time I took him out, I took him to a doctor, and they probed him on him, right? The next time I took him out, I took him to a groomer. They cut his nails and they probed on him a little bit. Third time I took him out, I took him to the groomer to spend 2 nights, and we just left him there and he came back. So the 4th time he's like, well, sheep are like that. They don't want, what happens with sheep? They have major fears. There's 2 fears that we're going to relate with, okay? So one of the fears that a sheep has is, believe it or not, a sheep has a fear that they're not enough. They're not enough. We get it. Chickens have a pecking order, right? If you have chickens, you realize the chickens are trying to figure out their pecking order. Who's the number 1 chicken? Who's the number 2 chicken? And they'll fight each other to get that position, right? If you have dogs, we have a dog neighborhood. You get our little dogs together, someone's figuring out who to be alpha. Little Zeke's humping as many as he can, as fast as he can, right? Because he's probably trying to position himself to be alpha among the little dogs. With sheep, it's called a budding order. With us, it's called keeping up with the Joneses, right? So sheep they're unsettled. They feel like, number one, they have a fear of there's predators around. They won't rest if there's flies and gnats, which they can't do anything about. And then they feel like they're not enough. There's something, they're just wired that way, that they can't lay down because someone else in the flock is going to take the lead, and they don't want to give that up, right? And so, what do you do about that? We're wired that way as well. We're wired to compare. What do we do about it? I've spent time this summer on what does that mean God makes us lie down? And where I landed is sometimes he'll do it the easy way, and sometimes he does it the hard way, right? And so I'll talk about the easy way. Take you back to when I worked for Mohawk. I moved here in 1991. I was promoted as a young VP in charge of sales with this company. And we were here just a few months, and my daughter took the MMR shot, which is measles, mumps, and rubella, right? And she's one of the rare individuals that instead of getting kind of build up her immune system against those, she took them on. And so those three attacked her body. She ended up in Scottish Rite Hospital, and we watched her just get thinner and thinner, and they were trying to, they're doing everything they can. Meanwhile, I'm in this position, and back then, it was a little different than today. People didn't work remotely. You showed up, and it was who got there earliest was the most dedicated, right? Who left the latest was the most dedicated. You were given a parking spot. The car you drove was looked at, right, and compared. And so there was, I had never been in that kind of environment before. And it was like there was a pecking order in the building. And so I had to drive, but then we had this insurance that the first $10,000 was taken care of, and then there was a gap between $10,000 and $60,000 where you were on your own. And then it would pick it back up again. And so we had these mounting bills, and I didn't realize, so I get a call from the HR director. He says, "Hey, Ron, come over to my office." So I learned when I go to the HR building, don't sit down. When I go to the HR office, I'm not going to sit down because he's going to tell me one of our reps somewhere got arrested last night, and he's embarrassed. You need to deal with this. So I was like, all right, tell me what happened. And he's like, Dave Kolb and Mercer came to talk to me about you. I said, okay. They said, we need you to get your smile back. I went, what? He goes, you're heavy, man. You're our face right now. You're running the sales force. You're the face to the customers. And we know what's going on with your daughter. We know that you have mounting bills. And so here's what we did. We called Scottish Rite Hospital. We've paid your bills. And we've told them any more bills that come up, we'll pay them. We need you back in the game, Ron. And you know what that did for me? I was standing there looking at him, and I went like this. He made me sit down. That's what it felt like. It was a pressure came off of me because they did that for me. My biggest all this financial pressure was taken off of me in a second, and it made me just sit down. That's what God does for us when we know he's our shepherd. He makes us lie down. All this churning that we have inside of this, all this way that we're built to compare this and do that, and Teddy Roosevelt said that comparison is the thief of joy, right? And I would say comparison is the eliminator of rest. And so if we get next to the shepherd and really understand who he is and what he does for us, that makes us lie down. And that's the easy way. So what does that look like? How can we do that? Well, if you read Ephesians, take your table card and flip it over. And what I did there is all I did was read Ephesians 1 and 2. Here's what God instructed Paul to write. Here's what God says about us. I chose you. I want you to know that I chose you. So I can know that I'm chosen. I'm holy and blameless before God. He has a purpose for me. I'm still breathing. He's already prepared things for me to walk in. He has purpose for my life. I've been transformed inside. He did that for me. I'm part of the family of God. I'm a member of his family. I'm saved by grace through faith in Jesus Christ, my shepherd. He adopted me. He gave me grace. He redeemed me. He forgave me. He sealed me with the Holy Spirit. He lavished me with wisdom and insight. He revealed to me the mystery of his will. He gave me an inheritance. Heaven. I'm going to heaven. I know that for a fact. He's prepared a mansion for me. That's my inheritance. That makes me lie down. He makes me lie down. I'm sitting down right now because, guys, we have to learn to do this. The guys who come regularly know this because I shared this a lot. The best thing my mentor did for me, and he did it early on, he said, Ron, do you have a place on your property where you meet with God all the time? I went, no. Establish one. He said, get a chair, get a bench, get somewhere on your property. When you go there, that's where you meet with God, and you do it every single day. And you slow everything down, and you get before him, and you talk with him, and you listen. And you realize that the God of the universe is right there with you, and he hears everything about you. He's your shepherd. He knows what's going on, and he will give you rest. And he will give you truth to counter what our minds create, that we're not enough. We're not enough. That we failed, that we made mistakes, that that we compare. He will eliminate all that. That's the easy way. You know what the hard way is? We resist all that, and then he's got to make us lay down. I would talk to a guy Wednesday night. He's going to come this morning. This is his chair. I think he slept in. But here's his story. He's only 34 years old. He owns a software company. He was killing it. He's 29 years old driving a Lamborghini. And he said, God was nowhere in my sight. I was cocky. This is his words. I was cocky. I was full of myself. A bad day was when it was raining, so I couldn't drive my Lambo, and I got all mad. He said, that's who I was. And then I got sick. And in 21, people couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And I went to doctor after doctor and ended up having to go to alternative medicine. And the doctor of alternative medicine sent me to this church. And it changed my life. And I realized that there's a God who cares for me. And this stuff doesn't matter. And he was beaming, a totally different dude. It's a little bit of my story. That might be a little bit of your story. I got an eye infection when I was in the height of my sales career. And people said to me, Satan's after you. I knew it wasn't Satan. I knew God gave me that. I knew it inside. I knew that he did that to slow me down and to turn my attention back to him. Why? Why does he do that? Because he chose us, because we're part of his family, because he cares for us, because he has a plan for us. So the choice is ours. Do we want to lie down the easy way? Or do we want to lie down the hard way, right? Guys, make it the easy way. Get yourself a bench. Meet with him every day. Let him speak to you. Make him a priority in your life. Things will follow. Second reason is why we won't lie down. We feel like we aren't enough, but then we also feel like we don't have enough. So he says, he makes you lie down in green pastures. What do you picture when you picture green pasture? What's that? Peace and joy. Yeah, peace, joy. I pictured green, like the top of a Scots bay, right? Like beautiful green. Do you know when David wrote this? That type of green pasture doesn't exist in the Middle East. I found a picture of what a pasture in the Middle East looks like. That's a green pasture. That's where and so what it is, it's just a spot where rain ran through and collected just enough that sprouts could come up. And so there's rocks, but they look for pastures like that to feed the sheep. Now this is where probably I've had the biggest challenge, because I can lie down, but if I look around and there's not enough, I could be just perfectly fine, but now it looks like there's not enough. This ain't gonna get me through retirement. I gotta do something about this, right? And you know, for the most part, we have a God that gives us just enough. Like, concentrate on today, right? What does he have for us to? Worry gets us nowhere. Should we plan? Yes. Should we think ahead? Yes. Should we do the best we can? Yes. But that's not our security. And so what David is saying is that the Lord's my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. There's always going to be enough. We're not going to go hungry. Our shepherd is not going to leave us abandoned. What do we have to surrender? What do we have to take in the land of worry and let go? A sheep has just that much. That's today's. And yes, there's rocks. Yes, but we need to lie down. Don't churn inside, right? Guys, I'm going to go ahead and send it to the table. We got some questions, some things to discuss around this and what we do about that. And then we'll come back and close it in just a little bit, all right? Go to the tables, appreciate it. Let me hear from the floor just a little bit. Something that stood out this morning, something around the table, your discussion, maybe what your take home is. Anybody have something they'd like to share with the group? Open mic time.
You can even get yourself exhausted and doing too much, doing things what you think is right for the Lord. So you got to do a balance and do a concerted effort. So you spend time with your family, you spend time with your work, and you spend quiet time with the Lord.
Yeah, quiet time with the Lord.
You know, at our table, one of the big questions that came up is, what is my purpose, right? And I guess, what we realize here is that we're human beings, not human doings, right? And so what God wants us to do, number one, and it's what he's been working on me for the last 4 years, is vertical relationship with him, my relationship with him. Once we get that straight, the other stuff kind of fleshes out, right? But yeah, our purpose, number one, is to love him and to be available for him to be able to move us to do things. So anyway, that's the question I think many of us are asking, right? What's my purpose? And I think part of that is the answer here, to lie down and to just spend some time being with God like he made us. So
that's outstanding. Guys, he's worthy of your time, right? I mean, the verse says he makes us lie down. We have a God who is proactive. He takes he's our perfect shepherd. And this psalm is for now, right? My mother's sister passed away, and the family asked me to come up and do the funeral, so I'm going up there in 2 weeks. And they sent me the bulletin, and guess what's on the bulletin? Psalm 23. Yeah, but you know why? Because it's the most popular for this verse though he's not talking about He makes me lie down in green pastures, and that's what's coming in eternity. It's now. Right now, he wants us to lie down in green pastures. And I was going to give the mic to Angelo, but he had to leave for a surgery. And he said something really good at our table. He said, "We won't lie down with somebody we don't know." You have to trust. You have to, if you're going to take the time, if you're going to have a bench and go there, it's because you want to know. You want to have deeper relationship. So that's why, even though we're all busy, and this, man, I tell you what, life gets full, right? And there's all kinds of press, and we can just push that out and keep that. But when we're churning and we're comparing and we're churning, and he's offering all this stuff to us, we just prioritize it and take the time. Where we're going next is, follow this. He restores my soul. He leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. That's where we're heading next time we go on Psalms. I appreciate all the guests this morning. Guys, if you're looking for a place to connect with guys, in our life, there's times when we need that. Sometimes we go through stuff and there's nobody to talk to. And sometimes there's nobody we want to talk to, right? And sometimes we can't talk because it's 3 o'clock in the morning and we can't sleep. And but there's times in our life when we need to have brothers in our life that we can just get real with and talk with. You can have that here. You can have, and you're part of creating that by being open yourself. This is what I can promise you. Look, we're a bunch of lay guys in here, right? We're going to give guys the microphone who have spent time in God's word, who have spent time on their bench, who have heard from him. And they're going to bring the word and open it up and then spur us on to a closer walk with God. That's what we do here on Friday mornings. So next week, Hutch is coming. He has spent his summer looking at men who are desperate because he got into a place, and he'll share some of the story where he was desperate for God this summer, and God showed up. And so he's comparing his story with other people in the Bible that have been desperate and how God showed up. And so he's got a little series that he's going to do. So he's going to do that next week. Peter's going to come the following week. I'm going to be up in Michigan for that funeral, and Peter's going to give a talk on the title talk is "Let's Talk About God," an aspect of his character. And then we're going to come back the following week with He restores our soul. He restores my soul, and he leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. So that's where we're going. Thanks for coming. It's a great place to come on back. Visitors, I hope you do that. And we'll see you next week. Appreciate you guys.